I would be grateful for your spiritual understanding as I speak of the greatest blessings that can be received in mortality. On February 3rd, 1846, it was a bitter cold day in Nauvoo, Illinois. That day, President Brigham Young recorded in his diary, "Notwithstanding that I had announced that we would not attend to the administration of the ordinances, the house of the Lord was thronged all day. I also informed the brethren that I was going to get my wagon and be started off. I walked some distance from the temple, supposing the crowd would disperse, but on returning, I found the house filled to overflowing. Looking at the multitude and knowing of their anxiety, as they were thirsting and hungering for the word, we continued at the work diligently in the house of the Lord. And so the temple work continued until 1:30 a.m. The first two names that appear on the fourth company of the Nauvoo Temple Register for that very day, February 3rd, 1846, were John and Jane Akerley, who received their endowments in the Nauvoo Temple that evening. They were humble, new converts to the church without wealth or position. Their temple work was their final concern as they were leaving their homes in Nauvoo to come west. It was fortunate that President Young granted the wish of the saints to receive their temple blessings because John Akerley died at winter quarters in Nebraska. He, along with 4,000 others, never made it to the valleys of the Rocky Mountains. William Clayton's classic Mormon hymn, "Come, Come Ye Saints," captures well their faith. And should we die before our journey's through, happy day, all is well. A temple was announced on July 26, 1847, the second day after the arrival of the first company of pioneers in the Great Salt Lake Valley. Brigham Young made this great proclamation before the saints even had a roof over their head, and while they were still living in wagons or sleeping on the ground. He drove his cane into the ground and said, "Here we will build the temple of our God. This magnificent edifice would require 40 years to build. Within 10 years after their arrival in the valley, the saints built the endowment house where they could receive some of their temple blessings. This they did, as Brigham Young explained, in consequence of our having been driven from our homes. And because of our destitute circumstances, the Lord has permitted us to do what we have done, namely, to use this endowment house for temple purposes. It was dedicated May 5th, 1855. Here, Elsie Ann, the daughter of John and Jane Akerley, was sealed for time and all eternity to her husband, Henry Jacob Faust, on April 2nd, 1857. There were, however, ordinances that could not be administered in the endowment house, and the work was underway to build the Salt Lake Temple. Referring to this great building that was to stand through the millennium, Brigham Young announced, "This is not the only temple we shall build. There will be hundreds of them built and dedicated to the Lord." The driving force of the pioneers in coming to the West was larger than escaping persecution. They were seeking a place where none shall come to hurt or make afraid, or where the saints would be blessed. Part of the spiritual pull that brought them to the Salt Lake Valley was their vision of a place where they could worship unmolested in a temple of God.